Welcome to this week's episode of 0 to a Million, brought to you by Unstack. I'm your host, Zach Rego. Today, I'm joined by Collin Mitchell, the busiest guy on LinkedIn. He is the founder and CRO of Monster VoIP, the host of their podcast, Monster Chats, also CRO of Salescast, host of their podcast, Sales Hustle, and an amazing resource for podcasters, startup founders, sales folks. Collin, thank you so much for joining me.
There wasn't like a lot of opportunity knocking at my door for jobs and things like that. And sales was really the only thing that would take a chance on me. And so I got a sales job and just put everything into it and knew that I had to make a career out of it, and worked my way up there pretty quickly. Was promised a managerial position and didn't end up working out. So I left and took a VP of sales position at a competitor, and built a team and learned some more business acumen. And then eventually it was just like, hey, I think I can do this on my own. My wife, who we were dating at the time, she was really unhappy at her job. And I said, why don't you come over here and just kind of learn this industry and learn what we do. And then I think we could probably do this on our own. And so we did. And so she came over for about a year, and she learned a lot of the industry and things like that. And we worked really well together. And then we started our first business and bootstrapped it to $5 million in 26 months. Our first office was our living room of our 1-bedroom apartment. And that was all built just by outbound sales, all fueled by outbound sales. I don't consider myself a great marketer, never have been. And so, we made some really good strategic hires and built a team and just, did our thing. And that was a lot of fun. And then I got a little bit bored, and it's a funny story because we, being fueled by outbound sales, we relied on the phones so heavily. The phones were our bloodline, right? So, and a lot of times we had issues with our phones, and I'd walk in on the sales floor and they'd be pissed off because the phones had issues again, or, maybe it wasn't logging their calls properly, whatever. There was always problems with the phones, and it typically looked at me spending an hour of my time with support troubleshooting and wasting a lot of time and energy and things like that. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So in a 2-year period, we had changed our providers like 5 times. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And so one of the neighbors in our building, who's my good friend and our CTO for Monster VoIP, was like, we can get this software and we can put it on a virtual server and get these trunk providers and it'll be better. And I'm like, I don't know. What do I have to lose? Like everything else we've tried and it sucked. And then it worked really well. And so then we started to kind of sell that to some of our current customers and found that there was a need, and then started Monster VoIP, and I've scaled that to 6,000 users in a short period of time. It's been a lot of fun. And then to kind of get to more current times, I went on a podcast with my co-founder of Salescast, Christopher Decker. He invited me to go on his show, went into the studio in Irvine, California, and had a great experience. And, I wasn't super active on social media. I was kind of a little bit there, but not really engaging, not really adding value, not really creating content. Podcasts kind of seemed like the answer to some of those things. So I naturally asked him, after having a good experience, how do I start a podcast? And he said, hey, it's pretty simple. You can interview whoever you want, and I'll take care of the rest. And I was like, boom, that's it. That'll work for me. I said, but I'm a super busy guy. Maybe I can do 1 or 2 episodes a month. I don't even know if that's the right way to do it, but that's kind of what I can commit to. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. And then a very successful podcaster came and kind of ruined that idea. And he's like, oh no, if you want to pick up traction and listenership early on and get listed in the new noteworthy in iTunes, here's how you trick the algorithm. And being a newbie podcaster, I didn't know any better. And he said, you got to do 20 episodes and release them daily. And I'm like, daily? That's a lot, And so I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I did it, and on Monster Chats, I interviewed over 130 entrepreneurs and founders and had a lot of fun. But what happened out of that experience was it instilled that activity and kind of got the passion for and love for podcasting. And I learned so much and grew both personally and professionally. And we created a product out of it. Because of the frequency of that podcast, we were doing 5 episodes a week. that we just had to have a really streamlined process, and everything had to be super efficient. And I was like, this is awesome, and I think there's more people that want this. And then so we started Salescast, and now we manage, I don't know, over 25 shows now. We probably have we're on track to have over 100 by the end of Q1. And so that's where we're at now.
How can you advise someone that wants to get into podcasting today with kind of an easy way to jump in headfirst? Because it is very overwhelming. I mean, even when we were starting this, Grant was like, are we going to be able to pull this off? And I was like, I don't know, but we'll try. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so to get started, it's a bit overwhelming. The number one thing is like, don't overthink it. Like nothing has to be perfect. Like not even the name doesn't even have to be perfect. Like you can change it. If you decide like you want to name it something else 3 months later, that's totally fine. Even the theme, like one great thing that I love about podcasting is just a lot of people get just kind of overwhelmed and overthink like all of the decisions that they have to make, like the music and intro and the creative and the theme and who are we going to interview and all these things. But you can change it up. Like you're not married to anything. And so a couple examples of that is like you can change the name, or you can launch a new season. And we like to say, have a reason for the season, right? So that looks like, hey, maybe, we're going to do a full season where we're interviewing entrepreneurs and founders. And then we might switch it up and we might start interviewing VPs of sales and marketing. Just depends, right? So you can launch a new season and kind of change the theme a little bit. That's totally okay. As long as like kind of the core things are still being accomplished, because you do risk like losing listeners if you just like totally take a 180. So a lot of these things can be changed. And the bottom line is like, here's the number one thing that I tell everybody when they're like, I'm not sure. Like, look, you're going to suck at it at first. Just like own that. Be okay with the fact like your first 5, 10, I don't know, maybe 15 episodes, you're going to suck. That's okay. But it's better than not doing it at all, right? And you will get better. We were talking about this before. It's like, just like people in sales reviewing their calls. So many people don't listen to their own episodes. I even sometimes get busy and don't make time to do it, but you can listen to your episodes at like 1.5 or 2x speed and just kind of like look for like maybe hey, I could ask some better questions there. I wasn't really paying attention there. There's things that you can pick up, or ask somebody to listen to your episodes. It's going to give you some real feedback.
What's kind of been your strategy for distribution once you create the content to get it out to the world in different channels?
There's so many things you can do to repurpose the content, right? So the audio is just one place. With the podcast platforms is distribution. Then you've got the video. Like if you're thinking about doing a podcast, should I do video? Should I not do video? 100% do video. Like even if you don't do anything with it today, like record it on video, because there's so many things you can do that with that. Like you have a full video for YouTube. You can. The biggest thing that's really nice is you can, there's software that you can use. Some are better than others to get a full transcription of your episode, because from there you can do a lot of things. You can use it as a blog post. You can take that and create quotes or topics for other content, right? Like maybe you do some one-off videos off of like something that you were talking about in a podcast with somebody. You can do the quote cards, images, audiograms. Like there's so many things that you can do. And the best thing that you can do too is like you can take your best 10 interviews and turn it into a book really easily. We've helped some folks facilitate that. My co-founder Chris did that. So there's like so many things that you can do with that content, and it's evergreen, right? Like you have it, you can reuse it. Like here's a reality: even when you post stuff on social media, like single-digit percentage of people in your network are going to see it. So if you post it and you post it again in another like 90, 120, 180 days, probably a different group of people are going to see it than the first time.